Imagine waking before sunrise, in a world where the night is still completely dark. There are no streetlights glowing outside the window, no cars passing in the distance, no phone waiting beside the bed, no clock on the wall telling you that it is 6 minutes past 5. There is only darkness. For a moment, you lie still beneath a heavy wool blanket and listen. Somewhere beyond the walls, a horse moves in its stall. You hear the soft scrape of a hoof against the ground. A dog gives a single sleepy bark and then falls silent. The wind presses gently against the wooden shutters. From another house nearby comes the faintest sound of someone coughing. The village is beginning to wake. It is an ordinary morning, and that is exactly where our journey begins. Not in a castle, not at a royal feast, not on a battlefield, but here, in a small medieval village, with ordinary people beginning another ordinary day. The year is somewhere in the later Middle Ages, although the exact year does not matter very much. For the people living here, time is not measured by centuries. It is measured by seasons, harvests, church bells, births, marriages, illnesses, and the changing length of daylight. You do not need to know what year it is. You only need to open your eyes. The room around you is small. The walls are made from timber and woven branches covered with clay and straw. The floor is packed earth, hard from years of footsteps. There is very little furniture. A rough wooden chest sits against one wall. A stool stands beside the bed. Near the center of the room is a hearth where the remains of last night's fire are still glowing faintly beneath a layer of ash. The smoke has nowhere easy to go. Some of it escapes through a small opening in the roof, but much of it remains in the room, hanging in the air. Your eyes have become accustomed to it. Everyone's have. The smell is familiar. Wood smoke, damp earth, wool, old timber, and the faint smell of yesterday's cooking. Beside you, someone is still sleeping. You do not wake them. There is no reason to hurry. There is work to do, certainly, but the work will still be waiting a few minutes from now. You pull the blanket around your shoulders and sit up. The air is cold, very cold. You immediately understand one of the simplest facts about medieval life. A house is not the same thing as a warm house. The fire is small because firewood is valuable. Every branch has been gathered, carried, dried, and saved for a purpose. During the warmer months, people spend time collecting enough fuel to survive the colder ones. There is no central heating. There is no switch to turn. If the fire goes out, the room becomes cold. If the wood runs low, the cold becomes a problem. So you reach toward the hearth. With a short wooden stick, you carefully move the ash aside. A small orange glow appears. You add a few dry pieces of wood. For a moment, nothing happens. Then a tiny flame appears. You wait. The flame grows. You add another piece. Soon the fire is breathing again. It is not a dramatic fire. It does not fill the room with bright light, but it gives you something important: warmth and enough light to see. Outside, the darkness is beginning to change. The blackness beyond the shutters has become a deep blue. Dawn is approaching. You stand. Your feet meet the cold floor. You dress slowly. There are no separate clothes for every activity. Most people own only a small number of garments, and clothing is repaired again and again. The fabric against your skin is rough. Wool is common because it is warm and durable. Linen may be worn closer to the body, especially when available. Nothing is wasted. A tear is sewn. A loose thread is repaired. A worn piece of cloth may become part of another garment. When you finally step outside, the cold air feels cleaner than the smoky air inside. The village is quiet. The road is nothing more than packed earth. After rain, it becomes mud. After a dry spell, dust rises beneath your feet. There are no painted lines, no signs telling you where to go, no pavement. The houses stand close enough together that you know the people who live inside, nearly all of them. You know which family has a new baby. You know whose roof leaks. You know which farmer has been worried about his wheat. You know who has recently lost a relative. You know which child is always getting into trouble. Privacy exists, but it is not the same kind of privacy you know today. Your life is woven into the lives of the people around you. You begin walking toward the well. The first light of morning has appeared above the trees. The sky is pale. A rooster calls from somewhere behind a house. Another answers, then another. Soon the village is filled with small sounds. A door opens. Someone carries a bucket. A baby cries. A woman calls to a child. A man coughs. A wooden cart creaks. The day has begun. At the well, you are not alone. Two women are already there. They greet you. There is no hurry. One of them tells you that her sister has been unwell. The other mentions that rain may be coming. Someone else joins the group and talks about the price of grain. These conversations are ordinary, and yet they are important. Information travels through people. There is no newspaper delivered to your door. There is no radio. There is no television. There is no internet. If something happens in a nearby village, you may hear about it several days later from a traveler. If a merchant arrives, people notice. If a priest brings news from another town, people listen. If someone returns from a market, everyone may ask what they saw. The world is larger than your village, but your knowledge of that larger world is often indirect. You know your own surroundings extremely well. You know the fields, the woods, the stream, the road, the neighboring settlement, perhaps the nearest town. Beyond that, the world becomes increasingly uncertain. You pull the bucket from the well. The rope is rough in your hands. Water is heavy. That simple fact is something everyone understands. You carry it carefully. There is no tap waiting in the kitchen. Every drop must be collected. Drinking water, cooking water, washing water, water for animals, water for whatever work the household needs to do. The journey to the well is repeated every day, sometimes several times. A medieval morning is filled with small tasks like this, tasks that modern life has quietly removed. You return home. Breakfast is simple. There may be bread, perhaps some porridge, maybe cheese, maybe onions, perhaps a little leftover food from the previous evening. What you eat depends heavily on the season, the region, the household, and what has been harvested. There is no supermarket. If you want bread, someone must grow grain. Someone must harvest it. Someone must thresh it. Someone must grind it. Someone must prepare the dough. Someone must bake it. The loaf on the table represents many hours of work. You break off a piece. The bread is dense. It is not the soft, perfectly uniform bread sold today. It has texture. It may contain different grains. It may be dark. It may be slightly sour, but it is filling. And filling matters, because today will require energy. After eating, you step outside again. The sun has risen. The village is now fully awake. A man leads 2 oxen toward the fields. A woman hangs cloth beside her house. Children carry small bundles of sticks. An older man sits near a doorway, repairing a wooden tool. A dog moves between houses, searching for anything edible. There is movement everywhere, yet there is also a strange calm. No engines, no traffic, no constant mechanical noise. The loudest sounds are human. Animals, wind, wood, water. The sound of a hammer striking metal somewhere in the distance. You begin walking toward the fields. The path is familiar. You have walked it so many times that your feet know the route without thinking. The field is divided into strips. In many medieval communities, land is organized through systems that allow different families access to different portions of cultivated ground. The arrangement is complicated. It depends on local custom, rights, obligations, the landowner, the village, the church, the weather, and the history of the place. For the ordinary farmer, one thing matters above all. The land must produce enough. Enough to feed the household, enough for seed, enough for animals, enough for taxes, rents, or obligations, enough to survive the winter. There is very little room for failure. A bad harvest is not simply disappointing. It can become a serious threat. You look across the field. The soil is dark. The morning is cool. The oxen breathe clouds of vapor. The plow moves slowly. There is no tractor, no engine, no easy way to turn the earth. The work is physical, and it is repetitive. Step, pull, turn, guide, wait, again, step, pull, turn, guide. The rhythm becomes almost hypnotic. Hours pass this way. Sometimes you speak. Sometimes you work in silence. The silence is not uncomfortable. There's no need to fill every moment with conversation. You hear birds. You hear the plow. You hear the breathing of the animals. You hear the wind moving through distant trees. The sun climbs higher. The morning becomes warmer. At some point you stop. You straighten your back. For a moment, you look toward the village. From here, the houses seem small. A thin line of smoke rises from several roofs. The church stands slightly above the other buildings. Its shape is familiar. The church is more than a place of worship. It is a landmark, a gathering place, a place where important events happen. Births, marriages, funerals, festivals, announcements. For many people, the church is one of the few institutions that connects village life to a much larger world. The bell rings. The sound travels across the fields. It is deep and unmistakable. You pause. So does everyone else. The sound fades into the distance. Then work begins again. By late morning, hunger returns. You make your way back toward the village. The road is busier now. A cart passes slowly. The wheels are wooden. The cart carries sacks. You move aside. The driver nods. There is no horn. No need for one. Everyone can hear the cart coming. Near the center of the village, several people are gathered. Someone has arrived from the town, a merchant. He has cloth, small metal objects, salt, perhaps spices, things that are not produced locally. People look. They ask questions. They touch the fabric. They consider the prices. A merchant's arrival is an event because markets connect distant places. The goods on his cart may have traveled farther than most villagers ever will. You look at a small piece of colored cloth. The color is beautiful, but it is expensive. You do not buy it. You do not need it. Need is an important word in this world. Many decisions are based on need, not convenience, not entertainment, not personal preference in the modern sense. Need. You return home. Lunch is served. Again, it is simple. Perhaps a thick vegetable stew. Cabbage, onions, peas, beans. Whatever is available. If the household has meat, it may be added on certain days, but meat is not necessarily part of every meal. The stew is cooked slowly over the fire. The smell fills the room. You sit together. There are no individual plates arranged perfectly around a table. Food may be shared. Bread is broken. A wooden bowl is passed. Everyone eats. The conversation moves naturally. Someone talks about the weather. Someone complains about a broken tool. Someone laughs about something that happened earlier. A child reaches toward the food. An adult gently moves the child's hand away. The moment passes. Nothing remarkable happens, and that is the point. Most lives are made of moments that would never appear in a history book. A meal, a repaired shoe, a conversation, a walk, a tired evening, a joke, a disagreement, a quiet afternoon, a child learning to carry a bucket, an old person sitting in the sun. History usually remembers kings, but most people who lived through history were doing exactly these things. They were trying to get through another day. After lunch, you step outside again. The sun is high. This is the warmest part of the day. The village looks different now. Children are playing. Some are carrying sticks. Others are chasing one another. Their games are simple. They do not need manufactured toys. A piece of wood can become a sword. A stone can become part of a game. A small ball can be made from scraps. Imagination supplies what money cannot. Nearby, a woman works with thread. She sits in the doorway, where the light is good. Textiles are important. Clothing is expensive in terms of labor. Making cloth requires time. Spinning, weaving, cutting, sewing, repairing. A single garment can pass through many stages before it is finally worn. Nothing about clothing is casual. A loose sleeve can be fixed. A torn edge can be strengthened. A worn garment can be altered. When it finally becomes too damaged to wear, the fabric may still be useful. Perhaps it becomes a cloth. Perhaps part of a child's clothing. Perhaps something used around the house. Waste is expensive. You continue walking. At the edge of the village, you find a small stream. The water moves slowly over stones. You sit beside it. For a while, you do nothing. This is one of the most striking differences between the medieval world and the modern one. There is nothing demanding your attention, no notification, no message, no advertisement, no screen, no schedule filling the next 10 minutes. The stream simply moves, water over stone. Again, again, again. A bird lands on a branch. You watch it. The bird flies away. You remain seated. Time passes. You do not know exactly how much. Perhaps 20 minutes. Perhaps an hour. There is no reason to measure it. Eventually you return. On the way, you pass a small group of people carrying baskets. They are going toward the woods. The forest is important. It provides fuel. Wood, fallen branches, berries, nuts, wild plants, sometimes mushrooms, sometimes game. It is not an empty wilderness. It is part of the economy. People know which trees are useful. They know where water collects. They know where certain plants grow. They know which paths become dangerous after rain. Their knowledge is local and practical. A person who has lived in the same landscape for decades may know details that no written map could capture. The shape of the land, the sound of a stream before a storm, the behavior of birds before changing weather, the condition of a particular field, the best place to find dry wood. Knowledge is carried through experience. You continue toward the workshop of a blacksmith. The sound reaches you before you arrive. Clang, pause, clang. The hammer strikes metal. The blacksmith works near a fire that is much hotter than the household hearth. His workshop is darker than the outside world. His arms are strong. His hands are marked by years of work. He heats a piece of iron until it glows. Then he places it on the anvil. Clang. The hammer falls. Clang. Again. The sound is almost musical. The blacksmith makes and repairs objects that the village depends on. Tools, nails, hinges, horse equipment, knives, small pieces of metal that are easy to overlook but difficult to live without. A good blacksmith is valuable. His work requires skill. You watch for a while, then you move on. The afternoon slowly begins to decline. Shadows grow longer. The sunlight loses some of its heat. Work continues. There is always more work. A fence needs repairing. Animals need feeding. Tools need cleaning. Food must be prepared. Clothes need washing. Water must be carried. The ordinary medieval day is not one long, dramatic adventure. It is a collection of responsibilities. One task leads to another. When one is finished, another appears. Yet there are moments of rest. People talk. People visit. People sit outside their homes. Someone tells a story. Someone sings. Someone laughs. There is entertainment, but much of it is communal. Music, games, stories, festivals, religious celebrations, traveling performers in larger settlements. A storyteller can be valuable. Because stories travel without paper. A tale can move from one village to another. A song can cross generations. People remember what they hear. And so, as evening approaches, stories become more important. The light fades. You return home. The fire is rebuilt. The room begins to glow. Dinner is prepared. The same pot that served lunch may serve again. There is little distinction between kitchen and living space. The hearth is the center. Warmth gathers around it. People sit nearby. The darkness outside is complete now. When you step outside for a moment, the difference is astonishing. The sky is enormous. There are stars everywhere. Without electric light, the night sky appears deeper, brighter, more crowded. You can see the Milky Way stretching overhead. There are no glowing buildings in the distance, no airplane lights, no illuminated roads. The village disappears into darkness. Only the occasional fire offers a warm point of light. You look upward. For the people living here, the stars are part of everyday life. They are not a photograph. They are not something you visit outside the city. They are simply there, night after night. The moon changes. The seasons change. The stars move across the sky. People notice. The night also brings a different kind of silence. The village becomes quiet. Animals settle. Doors close. Voices disappear. The last firelight flickers through small windows. Inside your home, the family gathers close to the hearth. Someone tells a story. It may be about a traveler, a strange event, a distant place, a saint, a local legend, a foolish neighbor, a story from childhood. The details change as the story is told. No one needs a perfect version. The purpose is not accuracy. The purpose is to share the evening. You listen. The fire crackles. A log shifts. Sparks rise. Someone yawns. The story continues. Eventually, the conversation becomes quieter. One person leaves the room. Then another. The fire is allowed to die down. The final pieces of wood become red. You prepare for sleep. The bed is not luxurious. The mattress may be stuffed with straw, reeds, wool, or other available materials. It is not perfectly soft, but after a long day of physical work, it feels comfortable. You lie down. The blanket is pulled over you. The room is dark. You can hear the wind. Somewhere outside, a dog moves. A horse shifts in the stable. Then everything becomes still. You close your eyes, and for a while, you simply listen to the night. This is the quiet world of medieval life. But our journey is not over, because the medieval world is not only a village. Beyond these houses are farms. Beyond the farms are forests. Beyond the forests are towns. Beyond the towns are roads. And beyond the roads are places that most villagers will never see. So let us remain awake a little longer. Let us imagine another morning, another village, another ordinary life. The seasons change. Winter arrives. The same house that felt merely cool in autumn now feels cold. The days are shorter. The fields are quiet. The work changes. There is less planting, less harvesting. But winter does not mean rest. Animals still need care. Wood must be gathered. Tools must be repaired. Clothes must be mended. Food must be preserved carefully. The stores collected during the warmer months become precious. You open a storage container. Inside are dried peas, grain, perhaps onions, perhaps salted meat, perhaps apples kept carefully. Every household has to think about the future. The harvest belongs partly to tomorrow. A person who eats everything today may regret it in February. This is one of the great lessons of agricultural life. The future is always present. When you plant a seed, you are working for months from now. When you save grain, you are thinking about winter. When you repair a roof before autumn, you are thinking about rain. The medieval farmer lives in a constant conversation with the future and with the weather. Weather is not background information. It is one of the most important forces in life. Rain can save a crop. Rain can destroy a harvest. A late frost can damage fruit. A long dry period can make the earth hard. A harsh winter can kill animals. People watch the sky. They learn clouds. They notice wind. They know the seasons. Yet no amount of experience gives complete control. Nature remains stronger. This uncertainty shapes the rhythm of life. When spring finally arrives, the world changes. The soil softens. Birds return. The days lengthen. The fields become busy. The village seems to wake from a long sleep. People work longer hours. Children are sent to collect things. Animals are taken out. Seeds are planted. Tools are sharpened. There is a feeling of possibility. Spring is not simply beautiful. It is necessary. Summer arrives. The days are long. The sun sets late. People work from early morning until evening. The fields turn green and then golden. There is more food, fresh vegetables, fresh herbs, fruit, milk, eggs. The landscape becomes full, and then, almost before you realize it, harvest approaches. Harvest is one of the most important periods of the year. Everyone helps. The work must be completed while the weather allows. Grain is cut. Bundles are carried. Animals move through the fields. People work until they are exhausted. There may be songs. There may be jokes. There may be complaints. There is satisfaction too, because every bundle represents survival. At the end of the day, you sit outside. Your hands are tired. Your back hurts. But the fields around you are full of the results of months of work. You look at the grain. For a moment, you understand the connection between soil and supper, between weather and bread, between labor and survival. The modern world often hides these connections. A loaf appears in a shop. Food arrives packaged. The journey from field to table becomes invisible. Here, it is impossible to forget. The harvest is the village's great accounting. It tells you whether the year has been generous or difficult or somewhere in between. And after the harvest comes autumn. Leaves turn. The air becomes colder. The fields empty. The village prepares for winter again. The cycle continues. Plant, grow, harvest, store, wait, begin again. There is something deeply peaceful about this rhythm. Not because life is easy. It is not. Life can be extremely difficult. Illness can be frightening. Accidents can change a family forever. Childbirth can be dangerous. A poor harvest can bring hunger. A fire can destroy a house. A bad winter can take lives. There are dangers everywhere, but there is also a strong sense of place. People know where they belong. Their lives are connected to land, family, neighbors, work, and tradition. They know the landscape, not as something they occasionally visit, but as something they live inside. A field is not scenery, it is food. A forest is not scenery, it is fuel and materials. A river is not scenery, it is water. A road is not scenery, it is connection. A church bell is not background noise, it is part of the structure of the day. Even the changing light has meaning. Morning means work. Midday means rest and food. Evening means home. Night means sleep. The day has a natural shape. You do not need an application to tell you what comes next. The sun tells you. The season tells you. Your body tells you. And perhaps this is why the medieval night feels so different. When the work is finished, there is not much left to do. You can talk. You can listen. You can sit near the fire. You can look at the stars. Or you can sleep. There are no endless streams of entertainment waiting to keep you awake. There is no infinite supply of information. There is no feeling that something important might be happening somewhere else every minute. The world outside your village may continue without you, and you may never know what happened there until much later. Imagine walking along a medieval road at dusk. The road stretches ahead between fields. The sky is turning orange. A traveler approaches. He carries a small bag. Perhaps he is a merchant. Perhaps a pilgrim. Perhaps a messenger. You greet him. He tells you where he came from. You ask about the road. He tells you that a bridge farther north is damaged. He mentions a market. He mentions a town. He tells you that the weather was better near the coast. Then he continues walking. You stand there for a moment. That conversation may be the only news you receive from outside your region for days. There is something beautiful about how small information feels. A single traveler carries a piece of the world. A letter is precious. A book is precious. A map is precious. Knowledge moves slowly, but because it moves slowly, people may remember it. A story told around a fire can survive for generations. A family recipe can be passed from mother to daughter. A craft can be learned by watching someone work. A local custom can become so old that nobody remembers when it began. This is a world where memory matters. People memorize prayers, songs, stories, genealogies, local knowledge, instructions. The spoken word carries weight, and yet, despite the difficulties, people still laugh. This is easy to forget when imagining the Middle Ages. It can seem like a world of misery and darkness, but ordinary people were not permanently miserable. They laughed, they teased each other, they celebrated weddings, they enjoyed festivals, they played games, they danced, they drank, they sang, they fell in love, they argued with their neighbors, they became jealous, they made friends, they worried about money, they worried about their children, they complained about work, they enjoyed a good meal. In other words, they were people. The human experience did not begin with modern technology. It simply happened under different conditions. A medieval child could be fascinated by the same things that fascinate a child today. A shiny object, an animal, a funny story, a strange sound, a person doing something unexpected. A child could spend an entire afternoon watching a blacksmith work, or following a dog, or playing beside a stream, or trying to climb a tree. The world was full of things to discover, and because there were fewer manufactured objects, ordinary natural things could become interesting. A feather, a stone, a beetle, a piece of wood, a bird's nest, a strange-shaped root. The imagination did much of the work. As evening returns, the village becomes quiet again. A small light glows from a window. Smoke rises. The church stands dark against the sky. You walk slowly home. The road is familiar beneath your feet. There is no reason to hurry. You have nowhere else to be. This may be one of the strangest feelings for a modern person. There is nowhere else to be. No second appointment, no message waiting, no traffic, no appointment you forgot. The evening is simply the evening. You reach the house. The door opens. Warmth, smoke, the smell of food. Someone looks up. You sit down. The fire burns quietly. Dinner is simple. You eat. Then you talk, perhaps about tomorrow. Tomorrow there will be work. There is always work, but tomorrow can wait. Tonight the fire is warm. The roof is holding. The family is together. The animals are safe. The grain stores are full enough. For this moment, everything is as it should be. Outside, the wind moves across the fields. The stars appear. The village settles. One by one, the lights disappear. You begin to feel tired. Your body remembers the day's work. Your eyes become heavy. You listen to the fire. Crackle. Pause. Crackle. The sounds become softer. The voices fade. The room darkens. You lie down, and as you close your eyes, imagine that the centuries are becoming quiet. The medieval village is still there. The fields are still there. The road is still there. The river continues moving. The trees continue growing. The stars continue shining. People have come and gone. Generations have passed. Houses have disappeared. New houses were built. Old roads changed. Names were forgotten. But the ordinary rhythm of life continued. Morning came. People woke. They worked. They ate. They rested. They loved. They worried. They laughed. They slept. And then morning came again. Perhaps this is the most interesting thing about looking into the distant past. After all the kings, wars, castles, and famous names have been removed. What remains is surprisingly familiar. Someone still had to wake up early. Someone still had to make breakfast. Someone still had to fix the roof. Someone still had to carry water. Someone still had to care for a child. Someone still had to worry about tomorrow. Someone still wanted a quiet evening. Someone still looked at the stars. And someone, somewhere in a small medieval house, eventually closed their eyes and went to sleep. The fire burned lower. The village became silent. The night settled over the fields. And for a few peaceful hours, there was nothing left to do. Only rest, only darkness, only the soft sound of the wind moving across the old wooden roofs. Stories before sleep.